Welcome to the collaborative. I'm your host, Sydnee Walker, along with Jalen Stubbs serving as guest co-host. Today, we are joined by Brandon Parker. Parker is a senior communications manager at the NFL Players Association. In this role, he helps lead media relations and crafts messaging across multiple platforms to promote the services, programs, and achievements of the union and its player members. Prior to joining the NFLPA in 2016, Brandon served as a sports journalist for 10 years, covering athletes at all levels during stints with the Washington Post, ESPN, and the Beaufort Gazette in South Carolina. He is a proud graduate of UNC Chapel Hill, where he earned a journalism degree before obtaining his master's in journalism at Northwestern University. Welcome. First up, we have Sid's This or That UNC edition. I'll give you a few options and you'll tell me your preference and why. So first we have Dean E. Smith Center or Keenan Memorial Stadium.
Dean E. Smith, the Dean Dome, that's what we call it.
Okay. The Old Well or the Bell Tower?
The Bell Tower. I don't like drinking after people that have been drinking from the same water fountain for 100 years. So gotta go with the Bell Tower.
Yeah, that is a good reason. I would go with that as well. The library or the quad?
Definitely the quad. Not to say I wasn't studying, but yeah, those were good times hanging out with people in the quad.
Especially when you have nice weather. You can hang out
Yes,
with friends,
yes.
sightsee.
There you go.
And last but not least, the Carolina Duke rivalry or homecoming?
Definitely Carolina Duke rivalry. I feel like we squashed that a couple years ago when we sent Coach K home in the Final Four. But yeah, that'll always be the top basketball rivalry in my mind.
Yeah, I've heard all the crazy stories about people camping out for days. And actually, one of my professors at Oregon, he's a triple Tar Heel. He got his undergrad, master's, and PhD from UNC. So he's a very proud.
Oh man, yeah, that's my kind of guy. Okay.
I will now turn it over to Jalen Stubbs.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining, and thank you, Brandon, for taking time out of your evening to be with us today. Long time no see.
Yeah, man. Always good talking to you.
Likewise. So, Brandon, to kick things off, let's talk about your passion for sports journalism. When did you discover your passion, and what kept you on that path?
Well, my parents tell me during church, back in the day when you went to church, there are like little programs that would tell you what was happening during the service. They tell me that I would spend that time like writing out sports facts or like about games that were happening during the day. So that was kind of the first signs of it coming. And then, I played sports throughout high school, realized, basketball was great during that time, but it probably wasn't going to lead to a career. So I was like, what's the next best thing that I could do to stay close to sports? So I grew up, well, I guess around that time in the high school age, that was when Sports Center was really blowing up, like Stuart Scott, Dan Patrick, people like that. Sports Center was the thing. So I thought I wanted to do broadcasts, sports broadcasts, and I went to UNC with that in mind. But then long story short, I wanted to cover the basketball team, the men's basketball team, pretty early. But I guess with the TV station there, you kind of had to work your way up. So I was like, well, let me try out the newspaper, then maybe they'll let me cover a little bit sooner. Still had to work my way up there. But I really found a passion and love for writing that I guess had started, like I said, some years ago. And it just kind of went from there. Again, I love sports. God's gifted me with the ability to write, and I really feel like it's a way to really tell people stories. Everybody's got a story. Not everybody is on, the same platform per se, but everybody's got a story to where they've come from, where they're going, and just getting to know people in that way and being able to tell their story is a real privilege, I feel like.
Yeah, love it. And as a aspiring sports journalist myself, that's kind of similar to the path I'm heading towards. I love storytelling and things like that. I feel like we all have a story to tell. How else would you say, like, what you learned throughout your collegiate academics and extracurriculars really reflect what you do now?
It's really taught me, how so many things are connected within communications or journalism. So when I went to school, I went to get a journalism degree. So it was based in news and editorial and writing. But like I told you, I also had the interest in broadcast when I first started. So even though most of the work that I did was in writing, I found, as I grew and evolved as a journalist, you got to know a lot of different things. Like in this industry, in this day and age, people want one person that can do a lot versus having to hire 3 or 4 different people to do one thing, one thing, one thing. So yes, you can write, but can you shoot video on your phone? Can you create messaging that is quick hitting that will go on social media? Can you can you do things in front of the camera? Do you understand what happens behind the camera in terms of producing and things like that? So it really challenged me as things were evolving to really get to know everything. So even though I knew I wanted to be, focused as a writer, when I was at the Beaufort Gazette, I had to do some page design and some editing. So that helped me have an understanding, like you talk about the deadlines. It helped me understand why, particularly when you're working for a newspaper, why the story has to come in at a certain time. Because once you get the story, you got to edit it, make sure it goes on the page right, then it gets sent to this person, then it goes to the printer. So to see all those different parts was important. Also, asking people if I can, like I had the privilege of going to the studio of Pardon the Interruption, PTI, and just seeing how that works behind the scenes. Because if you're doing what you do in terms of writing or on camera, you're so focused on that. But if you have an appreciation for what all the other people are doing around you, it helps you do your job better and helps them in turn make everything seamless. So just, I feel like I came up in a time where things were really transitioning and evolving to the digital space. Like I remember in college, like most college basketball games were on Saturdays. So we would cover the game for the Daily Tar Heel. And I remember having a conversation like, you guys think we should, write a story that's going to go on our website, or you think we can just wait until the paper comes out on Monday? Because it was just a Monday through Friday paper. And now that sounds crazy because, of course, like you got to have something up as soon as the game ends and people are doing other things, because most people have seen the score, seen the game, so they want to know what's next, what's more. So just being able to be in the middle of that progression of the industry, I think really helped me see things from a different way and challenged me to grow, so I could keep up.
Yeah, I loved how you mentioned how journalists have to learn different elements of the career itself. That's pretty important if you want to just keep progressing in no matter in any beat that you do. You now serve as the senior communications manager for the NFLPA. Can you touch a little bit on your day-to-day duties in season versus during the off season, and how do you define success in your role?
All good questions. A lot of people ask me that, like, what's my day to day? Every day is different because you're kind of at the whim of what happens on the football field, and you don't know what's going to happen. Like, for instance, today, last night, as most of you know, Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. He's out for the season. But a lot of the storyline was that this is yet another injury that happened on the field at MetLife Stadium, which is where the Giants and the Jets play. So some of you may know over the last year or two, our union, the NFL Players Association, and its players have really been pushing the owners and teams to make the field services more safer so that there will be less injuries like that. Not saying, you can't really prove whether it was the field that caused, Aaron Rodgers to tear his Achilles, but it's happened a lot in terms of those injuries and players reporting that they feel better playing on grass than turf. So all that to say, like, got a lot of calls and media requests today, like, hey, do you guys have any comment about what happened to Aaron Rodgers? Players are tweeting about it, sharing their thoughts. So, you don't go into the game expecting that's going to happen to Aaron Rodgers, but you just kind of, that's what my day became because of that. So every day is different. And that's why I enjoy it, because, it's a challenge and you got to stay on your toes. It's funny though, because during the season, obviously, like I said, things happen and you stay busy, but actually the NFL off season, particularly from like January then the Super Bowl is in February. But from that point until May, that's actually our busiest time as a union, because that's when the players are just finishing their season. They're not as focused on the game, so that's our time to really engage with them. So we have things during the Super Bowl week, which is kind of like football's version of NBA All-Star Weekend. There's a lot of things that we do to try to engage with the players, get content from them that we can post on social media. And then from there, we have our annual Board of Player Representatives meeting where each team in the NFL has 4 player reps that are kind of the liaison between the locker room and the union. So all those reps come and they meet. It's kind of like a State of the Union meeting to see how things went this past season, looking ahead. We do stuff around the draft after that, and then we do a big event called Rookie Premiere where we host about 40 of the top rookies to make their first business trip, basically, so we can introduce them to business partners, sponsors, just to kind of get them jump started on the business side of things. So it's a lot of traveling around that time, but it's busy in a good way. So really, I'd say my downtime is only like July to August or so, early August. So yeah, I'm just coming off some vacations a couple months ago to get ready for this season that we're in now. So it's always changing, always going, but I enjoy it because I'm always meeting new people, always feeling like I'm serving a greater purpose of helping out the players in terms of protecting their health and safety, helping them learn about the many opportunities that are out there, whether it be finishing up their degree, getting experience doing other jobs outside of football so that when football is over, they have some things to show on their resume. And just being there for them, helping them with their community events. There's just a lot of different ways that we help out as a union that I didn't even realize until I started working here. But it's a great feeling to be able to connect with them in that way.
I gotta say, Brandon, that's a pretty unique role. I didn't know that much about it at first when we first met, but I didn't know you do all of that traveling, and then you interact with everybody else in the business that way as well. Now, we all know that management positions are quite tedious, if you can take it from me too. However, I want to touch on work-life balance. Can you talk a little bit about what work-life balance means to you and how you practice that on a daily basis?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because that's kind of be something that's very important to me over time. And you go through different seasons in life. So when I was coming up through college, and again, understanding what the sports journalism industry is in terms of there's a good amount of travel, you're working a lot of nights and weekends because that's when games and practices happen. Um, you know, it's just a weird schedule, which is somewhat conducive to a person like me because I'm kind of a night owl, but still, it can be a grind in a lot of ways. But I didn't really understand that when people would say that or that have been in the game for a while, because it's like, oh, I'll be fine, or you're just so excited to get out there. But, as I got older, my priorities and the way my life looked changed from getting married to having kids. I have two daughters now. Your attention and your time is split in different ways, and you try to, you're trying to do it all because yes, you gotta feed your family and have a job, but you also want to be there at the same time. So that was a big reason of why I switched from sports journalism to sports communications PR that I'm in now, because I had a lot of great experiences in about 10 years that I was a sports journalist, but it got to a point where I just felt like I was getting burnt out trying to be on both sides and do everything. And not to say it can't be done, because a lot of people have done it, and there's sacrifices in whatever you do in terms of your job, but understanding what your priorities are, which to me is like, I guess literally, I feel like this is from a movie, but faith, family, and football for me. But those, if you keep those things in line, it can inform a lot of the decisions that you make. So for me, even though like I said, every day is different, I don't necessarily have a normal 9 to 5. It's a lot more manageable because when I was a sports journalist, I was chasing the news, always trying to break news, always trying to reach out to people. Can you tell me this? Can you tell me that? Now I'm on the other side where I have the news and the reporters are coming to me for it. So, me being on the other side, it gives me an understanding of what they're looking for if I'm trying to pitch a story. And I always try to make sure that I respond to everybody, even if it's no comment or I can't say anything about it. Like having been on the other side and have your editor say, even if it's no comment, we need to get something out of this or for this story to put in. So I can at least give that courtesy, but I can say no comment and be done with it, and then go off, and be about my day. Versus if I'm that reporter, I'm still trying to go get all the information that I need, which it can be stressful at times. So this job has kind of helped me find a little bit more of the work-life balance that I'm looking for, which I think is important because you're not going to be in your job forever. I could come in tomorrow and my boss could be like, you had a good run, Brandon. It's time to pack it up. And then I poured everything into that. But if I neglected my family, neglected other things, then what was it worth at the end? So trying to balance all those things, and there's no perfect formula, but I think it is important to keep that in the forefront in terms of what's important.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely prioritizing those things. That's a big one. Now you have over 10 years of experience working in sports journalism and in the sports business. What are some things that you have learned about yourself?
I've learned, I guess, for this to kind of reinforce like the importance of relationships and just being kind to people, like whether it be when I was in journalism, and I probably mentioned this in our class at some point, Jalen, but just like talking to anybody, not thinking that nobody, again, like I said, everybody has a story, everybody's connected in some way. So like I remember one story I did on a player that I ended up talking to the janitor at the school because he ended up being the person that would like open up the gym for the player early in the morning when he was coming in. So but that, I wouldn't have known that if I just didn't, even just saying a simple hi to the janitor, and then it kind of builds a conversation from there. Or just seeing, things that come full circle, people that I might have met, years ago, and then it comes back around where I have to work with them in different capacity, or, I might need to reach out to them for something. So just, understanding the importance of relationships and just being, like I said, kind and a likable person, that can go a long way. Like, you can get all the degrees that you want, read all the books that you want, but especially in this business, if you aren't able to connect with people, have cordial conversations, and just people want to be around you, you're not going to go very far if you're not able to do those things. So like just being bold in a lot of ways, that it's also, I've learned that about myself. Like I was kind of quiet growing up, but this job has really forced me to get out of my shell, and be confident in the way I carry myself. And that, and you kind of, I guess you learn that being around a bunch of athletes, because like, you see these people on TV all the time. So when you're in front of them, it's easy to look at them like they're different or be intimidated. But it's like, no, they put on their clothes just like me. They had breakfast this morning just like I did. They just have a career that's a little bit more high profile than mine. But, once you start talking to these guys and women in their sport, you realize that they appreciate it when you treat them just like you or anybody else, because they're just so used to not being able to trust people or just wondering what people's motives are. So just connecting with people, that can go a long way in a lot of jobs, but particularly this industry. So like I said, it's built my confidence in a lot of ways, and helped me, help me see how it is important to be connected to people just on a basic level.
Another thing I'm learning, just building those relationships so they'll be willing to actually help you in your endeavors. You've had a versatile experience working in writing and management. How do you think sports journalists working in the business of sports can appeal to a younger generation of fans?
Yeah, that's our daily question to ourselves in terms of how do we connect to our audience, our players. Like I said, it's always evolving. I'd say, understanding your audience, and like I keep saying, that comes from like actually talking to people and engaging with people. Because I think particularly in social media, you can get caught up and think like, all right, I'm just gonna post this rap lyric that goes with a picture or a video and think that's good enough. But that's, you're assuming a lot about the people that are reading that, and it might not necessarily hit the way that you think. But actually studying the people, understanding, this is big when I was in college, and I didn't get it at the time, but like, just again, understanding who your audience is and who you are and who you're not. Like, our social media account, our first audience is the players, and then obviously media, and then public. But we're not, you know, we're not complex sports. We're not gonna always be seen as the cool people that post this and post that. But that's okay. Like, just stay in our lane as a union, who we are. But that doesn't mean that what we do isn't relevant or important. Like I said, it's ebb and flow with terms of like what people are asking about, or if they see what we're doing as a union is important. Like today, what we do is very important because they want to know about these grass fields and these surfaces. But a week from now, people might move on and think the union doesn't do anything. So it's just being confident in who you are, and just understanding that there's enough space for everybody, and staying in that lane. And I think you'll make your mark, whether it be for you personally, or wherever you're at in your role.
Brandon, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight. I really appreciated hearing and learning from you. And one thing that resonated early on was do good where your feet are planted. Enjoy where you are at the moment. Don't always look forward to the next thing. And the work you and everyone else is doing with the NFLPA is so important. So thank you for sharing your story and telling more about your journey. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for what you're doing, Sydnee. Keep it up. Jalen, I think the world of you, man. Keep it up as well. And all you guys, wish you the best. Thank you so much.